Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drinking and Reading, Coffee and Weird Tales. So I had my first cup this morning. Okay, so here we are for part 2 of The Ghost Punch by Hans Bock. Yes, and where last we left, Terry and Mike, Terry had been in the round with his opponent and the ghost, who I think was, I don't know, like possessing the opponent, I don't know. Anyway, she's gonna knock Terry out, and I think he's gonna die in the 3rd round. See what happens. Okay, so the mob had decided to go insane with in a vocal way, and their shouts scrunched in from all sides like a vice of sound. Terry, let's move this over here. Terry and the Indian played seesaw with some useless throws, and then the bell. Holy cats! The Indian was still lively as ever, and the old hag was making for the kill. Mike wiped a tear from his eye. "You phony! You unmentionable phony! The phooey! Whatever did I see in you? Kid stuff! Holy saints!" He didn't have to yell, for Terry was feeling bad enough for the two of them. He'd had a demonstration of what the hag could do. Well, let her. Next time, he wouldn't be so startled. Let her put her face wherever she liked, but let her look out that it didn't get pasted. Go, Terry. The throng was yelling as if it had lungs from the stadium to the west coast. Terry had always liked the sound, but now it got him. He glared over at the Indian section, which was yelling like a billion bagpipes with cat attachments. And there, if you please, was the girl who'd given him that soul-searing kiss, and waving at him as she jumped excitedly up and down. Her crowd was giving her dirty looks, but she didn't seem to mind. But she didn't seem to mind. Yeah, okay, where am I? Terry couldn't believe it. He pointed his glove to his chest. "Me?" He pantomimed. She nodded happily and blew him a kiss. Where am I? Blew him a kiss. Well, what more could he want? Now he had still another reason to lick the redskin. "Enjoy yourself," the Heradian twittered. The Heradian twittered, balancing herself on the floor at his feet. "This is the 3rd, and goodbye to you." What a bitch. Maybe I'm being nasty. I ought to let you get married so you could have some children for me to torment. But I've only 4 years left on Earth, and I can't take any risks. You might have retired by then, or some accident might muss you up and spoil things for me. So, goodbye." Jesus. Ting went the bell, and Terry wobbled up on shaking legs, the goose pimples making his back look as warty as a frog's. He heard Mike yelling advice and groaning between every punctuation mark. Poor Mike, poor Mum, poor creditors, poor that girl out there, and poor Terry. Fuck, I hope he wins. I hope he doesn't die. Well, Terry was going to die trying. He swung wildly, clouting the Indian, a heavy one, to the body, and the redskin lurched back, hardly daring to throw a punch. The old woman! Nerds to her! Terry raked the Indian time and again. Then he heard the hag grumble. "This has gone far enough. Now's my inning." Terry would have liked to correct her on the difference between baseball and fighting, but he hadn't the chance. He was going to finish right now. Right now. Go, Terry. He staggered the redskin with 2 rights, made him cover up, and punched at will. The Indian seemed to wake up to the fact that things were happening, and he put up a good resistance. He feigned by dropping forward as though he were out cold, then zipped up on a spring-like knee and slammed a terrific body punch. Terry said, "Oof!" then involuntarily sighed as he dragged some wind back into his lungs, and this time he let go for certain. Fuck. But the hag kept getting in the way. At first she plastered herself all over the Indian's body, and when Terry wouldn't hit her, she was careful to hide the Indian's more tender points. Terry couldn't last long more than, at that rate, for the Indian was quick to grasp his opportunity. Probably figured that Terry was blinded by sweat. In the next few seconds, his stomach blows made Terry feel as if he'd eaten some TNT, and you know what had happened. And you know what had happened. What? I don't. Terry came out of it and disregarded the hag entirely. She had an answer for that, and floated her ugly face right against his own, her nose clammily touching his, blinding him completely. The Indian embroidered the situation by sending a clout to Terry's chin that threw him back against the ropes, while the crowd howled like a competition between hurricanes trying to outshout tornadoes. Yeah. The ghost's face wasn't very adept at quick travel. It appeared for Terry's backward lurch left her floating in midair. Terry prayed for the hell. No, Terry prayed for. It's the first time. No, it's not. Terry prayed for the bell to ring so he'd have a chance to think. Think! That's what he had to do. He wasn't the cursing type, being the sort who said, "Hello, Mum. It wasn't a good fight, and I'm glad I won it. It was a good fight, and I'm glad I won it, and mean it, and meant it." What? He wasn't the cursing type, being the sort who said, "Hello, Mum. It was a good fight, and I'm glad I won it," and he meant it. But now he said, "Damn! Yes, damn that ghost. Ghosts!" Yeah. There was that redskin closing in on him. This was going to be the kill. Terry lashed wildly, and the Indian, who had thought Terry was groggy, also thought that he could save himself by clinching. Yeah. He hugged Terry as if he had discovered a long-lost relative, and suddenly an idea. Too wild for anyone but an Indian. No. Too wild for anyone but an Irishman. Dive-bombed Terry's brain. Ooh. Sure, let the Indian hug him. The hag was coming around for her share, and Terry swung himself in the Indian and the Indian about, fending her off. He kept the redskin interested in the possibilities of clinches, while he waltzed the hag always at the Indian's back. Funny, but she couldn't push her face against his now. Well, his theory worked then. The referee yanked them apart, and though the hag's face travelled swiftly, she was not a fighter with Terry's superior agility. He aimed a snake-like left hook at the Indian's chin. There was a crack which sounded like a plank snapping in two, and the redskin bit the dust. Hang on a second. Oh, that better not be... Oh, wait, now there's ads. Why are there... Oh, okay. No, never mind. There was hardly any need of counting. Mike was frankly weeping, his tears splashing on the water bucket. The crowd screamed itself hoarse. The referee yanked up Terry's arm, and that was that. All right. Or so Terry thought at the time. But after he had showed and was putting on the last of his clothes, the hag appeared. Oh, go away. Mike was in the door, yelling to the mob that was trying to ram itself in. Get back, get back. He's got to have some time. Quiet time. No, he's got to have quiet. He's got to have quiet. So Mike didn't have to be worried by the conversation which Terry held with a face that nobody could see. Thought you were smart, eh? That Harridan demanded crossly. Thought you could pull a fast one. No, well, obviously, bitch. I mean, fuck. He's still alive, isn't he? Terry laughed. Sure, and I did. You see, I happened to remember all of a sudden that ghosts can't pass running water. And that's the battling redskin's name. Oh! Okay, good. And that's the redskin's name. Ha-ha! She snickered wickedly. You were right. Sure, I was right, and I hope it teaches you a lesson not to try to hurt people who haven't hurt you. Now I've got the money, and Mum's all right, and I am a champ. Yeah, you are. But not for long, she prophesied. But not for long, she prophesied. Your mother's well off now, yes, but you won't be. I'd shake the house down on your head if I could, but I'm not allowed to harm you anymore, But I'm not allowed to harm anyone but Flanagan's, and I can't dislodge the plaster here. Wait, what? But you won't be. I'd shake the house down on your head if I could. But I'm not allowed to harm anyone but Flanagan's, and I can't dislodge the plaster here. But I'll get you. You'll see. Perhaps tonight in the street. A push in front of a taxi. You won't get me, Terry said. Not if I have to build a portable moat and carry it around wherever I go. You can't carry an inner tube filled with water in a ring. No, wait. You can't carry an inner tube filled with water into a ring. So I'll retire. If she had a fist, she was shaking it. Well, you haven't got the inner tube on you yet. How much longer is that? No, it's not much longer. I will read the end. Ooh. Come on. Don't do that. It's being annoying. It's being really annoying. Okay. Come on, we want to hear the end of this story. Her face twisted with fury as she vanished, and suddenly Terry was all duck bumps again. He sighed. Well, he'd done what he could. Maybe he'd think of something. Mike should... So he was upset because, she'd been a bitch anyway. Mike should have had more than 2 arms, for he couldn't prevent the dark beauty from slipping under them and dashing to Terry. She was a dream. Her dark eyes were misty with rapture as she knocked away Terry's hands from knotting his necktie and delivered a kiss that was like sugar-coated lightning. Awesome. Oh, okay. Where am I? Sugar-coated lightning. Oh, my dream man, she cooed. My great big Tarzan. Oh, Terry, I love you, you great big monster of a man, you. I've dreamed of you for weeks. If you don't marry me, I shall die. Go away. It was a rather abrupt, but if she hadn't proposed, Terry would have saved her the trouble. Sure, I'll marry you, Alana. Oh, Alana. Whenever you say, but I'm a doomed man. Marry me right now before some other lucky girl grabs you. Yes, marry her, Terry. He grinned. Well, doggone it. I will. I thought I'd never see you again. But honey, I've got to warn you, I mayn't live long. You see, there's a curse on me. She didn't let it trouble her. She kissed him again, a whole chin of the candied thunderbolts. Mike was vanquished at last by the battering of the mob, but it torrented in, banging him against the banging him against the two and spoiling kiss number 23, or was it 27? Good grief, Mike moaned in dismay. Who's this? My future bride, Terry said, his eyes glowing like Christmas tree ornaments. Yeah, but who is she? Yeah, who is she? Yeah. Terry whispered, I didn't get your name, darling. My name? Oh, she blushed and laughed shyly. I'm Running Water's little sister, Babbling Brook. Terry hugged her enthusiastically. Baby, put your arms around me and promise to keep them there for the next 4 years at least. She didn't seem to mind, not in the very slightest. Okay, man, that was excellent. Oh, I think that's the first heartwarming one that I've read so far. I don't think I've read a heartwarming weird tale so far at all. That was excellent. Oh, could be my favourite actually. Really enjoyed that. What a brilliant story. Okay, good. I think I have another favourite. Hans Bock. Yeah, okay. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that. Part 3, final part of The Ghost Punch by Hans Bock. Alright, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Good story. Yeah. I hope our next one is just as entertaining. Who knows? Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed these readings of The Ghost Punch. I've really enjoyed reading this. Yeah. And now I'm just going to focus on finishing up my hooded sweater crochet tutorial. I'd like to thank all the people who've been subscribing up until now to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I'm really, really glad you want to stay and listen to these stories and maybe do some crochet as well. Yeah, so thanks. So yeah, for anybody who hasn't, please, if you liked this video, please like it. It helps a lot. I think, I don't know. If you didn't like it, don't like it. And if you hadn't subscribed but you would like to join me for some more stories and maybe crochet and stuff like that, please feel free to subscribe. Alright. Oh, also, my mug. It's the mug of the damned. If you watch my Instagram story, you'll see why. Whatever. It's got faces in it. Okay, thanks for joining me. See you next time.